So over the past couple of months, I've been one of the only people that was bearish up above 3000 USD while everyone was calling for this inverse head and shoulders pattern. I was saying, guys, actually we're forming this head and shoulders pattern, and on the loss of these necklines and the 200 EMA, we're going to come back down to this low. The amount of hate I got was incredible, and that kind of shows me that I was correct. And when we came down to this low, it was vital to get this macro bounce, because otherwise it's looking like it's forming into a macro double top. So the warning signs were there and given. Every time as soon as this was lost, I flipped bearish, simply because we've come down so deep. There's going to be a Fibonacci golden pocket in the way, keeping it bearish, and we can see that's all the way up as high as 3.7k. So market can bounce all the way up to there and still head to new lower lows afterwards. It's highly unlikely it does a move like that, but yes, I've shown you examples in the past on Bitcoin where that is a possibility. Over here you can see a dump followed by a completed dump followed by a massive move up into the 886 and still lower lows. So literally would be like a move up into there and still lower lows. So that's going to continue to be the risk. And when you go lower and lower and lower and lower, you get further away from that point. Equally, like when you came down into this key level of support, it was our last macro higher low. The higher low before that point is all the way down over here. So by losing that, we're getting this move all the way down into there, like I was predicting. But as soon as we hit the target, and we saw this big wick, all the influencers were telling you to go all in, while I was saying we're going to fill in the wick, but that the wick must hold as support at all costs. These two wicks must hold, otherwise we form this macro double top. Unfortunately, everything that was warned of has unfortunately come true, regardless of whether I want it or not. That has just been the reality. We can see that the 200 weekly, guys, this is taking an average of the last 200 weeks. Guys, there's 52 weeks in a year. That's pretty much 4 years worth of candlesticks being produced to create an average. And then if price action is above, this is considered bullish. If it's below, this is considered bearish. So a 4-year long support has now been lost. It hasn't held for 4 years. It's taking an average of the last 4 years. And so I guess you can technically say it's undervalued while trapped underneath this. You can see in this bull market, it doesn't tend to spend too long under the 200 EMA. So actually, when were the last times we went under 200 EMA? You have to say it was the bear market. And we can see here the 2021 top followed by the 2022 bottom. So that was part of the bear market. Same thing again, the 200 EMA was lost here in the bear market. So you can call it whatever you want, it's bearish. And you can see this clear weekly double top. Ethereum must now recover all weekly moving averages, and that takes us back up to 3k, the level I've been talking about for weeks and weeks and months on end now. Unless this is broken, I'm just expecting lower and lower and lower. We see the first initial bounce, that's where it should have recovered. It did not, that's why we've gone lower. Then there was signals down over here for a bounce, news that there would be a strategic reserve. Then it backtracked into just a sovereign wealth fund and the fact that they were never going to buy any more ETH or any altcoins in general, part of that sovereign wealth fund. So that's XRP, Cardano, Solana, ETH. They're not going to be bought up. In fact, if they hold any, they're going to sell them. That's what the US government said. The only one they're going to look to buy is Bitcoin, and the only one they're not going to sell is Bitcoin. So with that one being the news, that's the one everyone should be taking an interest in. And if the ETH Bitcoin chart doesn't show you this already, it's only been in a downtrend since 2021's top. And we nearly spent a year in this consolidation range between 2023 and 2024 for it to go higher. No, it went lower, but you'd say there's more chances that it would have bounced up from here and an altcoin season would have entered in a much better phase of the bull cycle for altcoins, because it was at a macro support. By losing this, you're validating that macro double top. And then even though you're setting up bullish, that bounce is not good enough. I can use my fibs. You can see it didn't take out the 886 fib. It doesn't even need to pump up as high as there. But even if it did pump up as high as there, it could also continue to new lows anyways. So the fact is, it doesn't even need to pump up as high as there to get that move down. What does this mean? It means as soon as we start entering correction, there's no point. Everyone looks at the market differently. Everyone has their own strategies. But with the fibs, at least when you enter correction, it's only bullish once again, once it's recovered the 886. And we can see that's ended up being true. And remember that we could pump to the 886 and still go lower. So we only get that structural change on the break. So a pump up into there will still not be good enough. And although it's macro support, you need to bounce from here to stop this macro double top. It went ahead and did so anyway. So the hope is what kills pretty much. And then same thing at the end of last year, October, November, December, January, getting ready to go up, start this altcoin season because seasonality told us, and all of these things are telling us start of the last year of the cycle should be the most bullish period. And then it went lower once again, proving that Bitcoin, of course, over the last four years, guys, over the last 4 years is better. So over the past cycle, you can see that after an altcoin has experienced its first cycle, you can see with ETH, go and experience its bear cycle afterwards, after the first cycle, we can see the next following bull market top does not reach higher than the past. And back over here, ETH was like valued at 1K. This time down over here, ETH was like 4K, well over 4K. Down over here, ETH was 4K. You see, so it was better valued in Bitcoin against Bitcoin when it was worth like 1K, 1.5K, rather than when it's 4.5 or 4K. It's absolutely insane. So it just really shows us that, oh, if we want to invest in something long term, then ETH or any altcoin really is not an option past its first cycle, because once it enters that bear, Bitcoin doesn't go as bad, whereas the altcoin does need so much more to recover. And then against Bitcoin, it just never will. So long term, you will see anyways. It took me a while, but I woke up eventually. I'm not going to ignore the proof. So I was actually saying this many months ago while ETH was pumping up to 4K. I was already sharing in my Discord community. We're going to find out, because we had that ETH Bitcoin range between October, November, December, and January. In these months, I was saying, guys, that's clearly the bottom. We're clearly going up. This is what I was feeding people. These are the conclusions that I was coming to because of what everyone else was saying online as well, that going into the new year, seasonality says, the last cycle says, going into the final year of the cycle, everything moves. But we're basing everything on historical evidence when this bull market has proved to completely do otherwise, since bringing in the ETF and now strategic reserve. Fundamental factors, external factors are changing things, and you must take action and realize these things and take action, not be complacent and ignore. So that's what we've been doing. If you want to get educated, I definitely recommend using the links in the description of this video update, whether it's the mentorship or the weekly live group workshops that I do in the Discord, on top of all the info I'm sharing in there, or the ebook. So with ETH USD, unfortunately, guys, daily and weekly EMAs all need to be recovered, and that's all eyeing up that 3K level. So literally what I've been saying, just showing further confidence, but just showing other ways of getting to that conclusion that 3K needs to be recovered. That would then start a move up to 3.4, 3.7. But again, that's a tradable move to there, and that would be where you'd have to take profits just in case. You can do something like that. Now, I think that if Ethereum gets up there, we shouldn't go to new lows, right? But I've shown you on those Bitcoin charts that it can definitely happen. So you need to understand that. Here's another example, guys. It's come all the way down, pumped all the way back up. What do you think this is? That's the fib, suggesting that you're not getting the break of the 886. Can you see that? And then what happens? New lower lows. So if you still think that it can't happen on this time frame, it definitely can. I've even shown you today on the Ethereum chart an example. So that's it from me today. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Again, if you want to get educated, to learn how to use the fibs, learn more about Bitcoin, use the links down below, and I'll see you over there. Cheers.